All right, so are you ready to dive in? Because today I was going to try to figure out this character, Mac. And I got to say, you've given me a lot to work with here. Sketches, notes, even pieces of conversations.
Yeah, it's like we're putting together one of those personality puzzles.
Seriously. And you know what? The more we look at these pieces, the more we realize he's not just that bold comedian type. There's more to him than that.
It's interesting, right? You see that contrast between how he acts in public and then those little vulnerable moments in his notes. Like when he's alone, that's when the mask comes off, and you see how much he needs that validation from others.
Oh, totally. Like he's even playing a part when it's just him. Remember that scene with Liz? All that parkour stuff, those cheesy lines. You almost feel embarrassed for him because you can tell how much he wants her to be impressed.
And that need, that desire to be validated,
Yeah.
it pops up everywhere in his life. In his goals, he says he wants to be at peace with himself, feel comfortable, but then he's like, I need to constantly prove myself.
So it's like he can't be content with just being him. He needs those wins, to feel good.
Which explains why he makes such a big deal out of achievements, right? Winning at sports, being the funny guy, even if it's just doing some parkour move to impress someone. He's looking for that validation to shut those doubts up.
And you can totally see that in how he is with people and his relationships. Like with Devin, he was so focused on being strong, even if it meant losing control in that sparring match.
Absolutely. He's always comparing himself, trying to prove he's good enough, needing to be more than ordinary. And that even leaks into his friendships, even with his closest friends.
You know what it reminds me of? When Tommy gets that date with Liz, you can tell Mac's trying to be happy for him, but you see that little flash of jealousy. Like he can't just be cool with it, he has to measure it against himself.
I mean, that's a pretty human thing, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Wanting people to like us for us, but also be impressed by us. But with Mac, it seems extra strong, that need.
So is it as simple as saying, oh, he's insecure? Like, what's the root of all this?
It's definitely deeper than that. Look, in his notes, he talks about hating to be like an NPC in everyone else's lives. So maybe it's not just insecurity. Maybe it's this fear of being insignificant, just another face in the crowd.
And it's not just about, like, doing stuff, right? I remember you mentioned this thing about Mac feeling like an oddball, especially when it comes to being black. That's got to be a part of this whole thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Think about how he says he doesn't feel black, but everyone else sees him that way. That's huge, that disconnect between who he feels he is on the inside and how the world sees him. Like he's stuck between two worlds, never really fitting in either.
And that kind of feeds into the whole needing approval thing, doesn't it? It's like he's trying too hard to make up for feeling different by always proving something, whether it's with jokes, being good at sports, even those cheesy pickup lines.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying on different masks, hoping one will stick and make people accept him. But those masks can only hide so much, right?
Yeah.
Underneath, he's still got that feeling of not belonging, not being truly seen.
Which might be why those times when he connects with someone for real are so important to him. Like that talk with Tira at the museum where they bond over feeling like outsiders.
Exactly. That's when the mask comes off and you see the real Mac. He's vulnerable, he's honest, ready to connect on a deeper level. It's like he's finally found someone who gets those parts of him he usually hides.
And it goes beyond just race, too. In his notes, he says he feels dysmorphia when it comes to who I am, like race, gender, etc. So maybe it's this bigger thing, not feeling comfortable with any part of who he is, which makes more sense why he's always looking for validation from other people.
It's like he needs something outside of himself to feel whole, to feel like he matters. But maybe the real journey for him is realizing it's okay to be complicated, to not have all the answers about himself.
And maybe he's starting to get that, Maybe the line where he's like, winning doesn't even really mean anything. It's like he's seeing that chasing external validation is kind of empty.
For sure. He's hitting a wall, realizing that those achievements, those little bits of recognition aren't enough. He wants something more, something with real meaning.
So then how does he get there? How does he close that gap between the Mac everyone sees, all jokes and confidence, and this guy who's still figuring himself out and doesn't always feel good enough?
Well, that's the big question, right? But here's the thing. Even though he's always looking to others for that validation, there are these moments where he sees his own patterns.
Yeah.
It's like he's got some self-awareness,
Like when he tells Addie he's sorry for being super competitive during that soccer game.
Exactly. He realizes that needing to win makes him forget to think about other people sometimes. He sees the problem, but can he actually change? That's the tough part.
It's like he's got all the pieces but doesn't know how to put them together yet. He's got potential, tons of it, but hasn't figured out how to use it to be truly happy.
And that's where Kenny comes in. His roommate, Kenny, he might be important to understanding how Mac finds that balance.
Because Kenny's not afraid to call him out, right?
Yeah,
Sets those boundaries that it seems like secretly Mac kind of wants.
exactly. Kenny's like this grounding force. He's not impressed by the big personality, the jokes. He sees right through it and pushes Mac to be more accountable, to think about his actions.
Like he's a stable presence in all the chaos. Not trying to change Mac, but just by being there, he makes Mac more aware of himself. And the thing is, Mac doesn't seem to mind, right? Like Kenny calling him out. If anything, he seems to like having that in his life.
Yeah, totally. I mean, remember he even writes about how he's glad Kenny keeps him in check? It's like
Yeah.
deep down, he knows it's good for him, that structure, having someone hold him accountable.
So maybe he's craving that balance, but he doesn't know how to get it on his own yet. Can he learn to do that? To be more self-aware and find that balance without needing someone else?
That's got to be it, right? That's the journey, finding that validation from inside instead of always needing it from other people.
It's like he's got this messed up compass inside, and he keeps asking everyone else for directions instead of just trusting his own.
And who knows, maybe just being around Kenny, someone so grounded, will help him fix that internal compass.
It makes you wonder, though, what if Mac could accept those parts of himself he hides? All that energy, that drive, what if he could use it for something that truly makes him happy? Not for other people, for him.
That's a powerful thought.
Mm.
And it just shows you how complex he is. He's not just this guy desperate for approval. He's a work in progress, like everyone, just trying to figure out how to be okay with himself.
He's like a reminder that even with all the masks we wear, the jokes, trying to seem tough, there's this whole human being underneath. And it's when you see those cracks, those vulnerable moments, that you really connect with him, flaws and all, right?
Yeah, maybe that's the lesson for us, too. It's not about being perfect or never messing up, but being okay with the journey, even when it's messy.
It's about finding that peace inside ourselves so we don't have to keep looking for it everywhere else. And maybe, just maybe, that's how Mac finally figures things out, both as this character and as a person.
Something to think about as you keep going deeper into Mac's world and really the human heart.